Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to the June 9th, 2026 meeting of the Newcastle Town Board. The board has been in executive session and I'd like to ask for a motion to open the work session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so today we're going to have an update on the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. And it will be presented by our new theater manager, Rachel Szymanski. Welcome, Rachel. And also in the audience, we have Michelle Gregson, Chair of the Friends of the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center as well. And so I welcome you both and I will give you the floor, Rachel. Come on up.
All right. Good evening. Hello.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to take up just a small portion of your busy session. I really appreciate it. I am excited to report on what we've got going on at the Performing Arts Center. So we're going to just do a little teeny recap and then I want to talk about what's coming up. We have had 2 shows so far, so this is a very small data sample, but let me tell you, it's very exciting. So we did a Fleetwood Mac tribute band in March, and then we did an ABBA tribute band. So we're looking at the 2 of those compared back to back. The ABBA one was in April. So for the Seven Wonders performance, you can see here that we were actually selling out on more of the premium and standard pricing range. The Mamma Mia ticket sales are almost exactly in thirds because we almost sold out. So that was the way that was broken down. For Seven Wonders, we had 219 people attend, and Mamma Mania, we had 379. So we're on the up and up already. There were 76 new buyers. So these are individuals who had never purchased a ticket at the Chat Pack before, according to our data from the ticketing service that is provided by the Friends of Chat Pack. And there were 122 new buyers for the Mamma Mania show. There were 37 towns represented, and for Mamma Mania there were 54. Go to the next slide. So when you're looking at these towns, for Seven Wonders, that number I think is 28% from Chappaqua, and you can see it's down to 14% in Mamma Mania because those were, again, 54 different towns were represented from Mamma Mania.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I know if we go to the end, but what was the furthest? What were the furthest towns?
So this is something Rob and I enjoy. The way that this town information comes to us, it's via their credit card. So it doesn't necessarily mean they actually live there, but we did have someone come in from Albany. We had people come over from Greenwich, and actually a couple people come up from Queens. Those were like the 3 furthest points. Whether they literally live there or just where their mailing address is still, I don't get the data on that. But those were the furthest. In terms of like more locally thinking, things like White Plains, I mean there was some Saratoga Springs. I think Golden's Bridge and Croton were the further north that I think are more realistic as opposed to around here. I mean the majority, Armonk, Pleasantville, Mount Kisco, Chappaqua, and Millwood make up almost 50% of the people who attended, and then it's small slivers across Westchester.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is really exciting to me, right? Because the goal of the programming that we're doing is to have something for everyone, and it's nice to have a wider net because we're not going to fill 423 seats every show from just our small individual towns within like a 10-mile radius. But if we have a larger draw, that means more people are coming here, more people are eating at our restaurants and being patrons in the different places in town, and then everybody's benefiting. Next slide, please. So this is an interesting graph that I wanted to share. This is about ticket sales versus date. So as we're ramping up the marketing and the word is getting out. So often, historically, we see a big bump in ticket sales the last 2 weeks. That's something that Friends have noticed with their programming. With Mamma Mania, we were seeing ticket spikes again and again and again. So that's starting to show a pattern that people are excited about what's coming. They're buying their tickets a little earlier. And that's what we're hoping to see more and more of as people get to know the programming that we're doing in this space. Next slide. Yes.
I'm sorry. So there was no, it wasn't like an email blast, there's no marketing.
So there is for both of them.
Okay.
So for marketing as of right now, it was all digital. So all Facebook and Instagram targeted ads,
Okay.
as well as an e-blast out to the mailing list that Friends maintains.
So,
And the e-news.
because these are two completely different graphs.
Right.
So I'm wondering what created these spikes.
Momentum.
Whereas, and you believe it's momentum.
I
It's
do.
that, hey, listen, we had such a successful first event that people were jacked up and ready to go for number 2.
I think that's 50% of it. The other is just the band draw. Fleetwood Mac versus ABBA.
Right.
ABBA's
Small
one
data
of
set,
their
so.
best-selling tribute bands, so you're gonna see more people excited about that. And that's gonna be a line that we walk, because there's gonna be all sorts of different people and what they wanna see, but I think it was partially momentum and partially just the band itself.
Were the bands doing any marketing or is it all?
They do.
is it anybody? Okay.
They do as well.
Makes sense.
And don't you
Thank
owe me a beer for the 7-1?
I sure do.
That was part of public record, I believe, yeah.
I absolutely do. So when we're looking at this, there was a small profit that the town actually walked away from both of these events, which we're excited to see increase. The goal here is to continue, and so the more we make, the bigger bands we can bring and the more programming that we can have over at the Performing Arts Center. So that's the quick comparison between these first 2 events. Any other questions besides what kind of beer I should buy, Rob?
Well, I just wanna ask, I think I've asked you this already, but just for everyone to know, so we captured all those emails of all those new purchasers.
They have to opt in to receiving our marketing. So yes, anyone who did opt in, we will now be
Do
included
you
in our
have
marketing.
data on how many of those new buyers opted in?
Not readily available, but I can.
Just because then they'll be getting emails for all the events that we have here,
Absolutely.
right?
And growing our marketing list is a top priority for me. So as we're continuing to navigate the programming, we are going into new partnerships with people. For example, we are entering into a clarified partnership with the library. We've always supported them, they've always supported us. It's beautiful. And now we're going to have an opt-in option on their ticketing. They're going to use the ticketing site so that we get to see how many people are coming to have that data. And then those patrons can opt in to get our marketing as well. So we're going to start that partnership with them in the fall. Again, trying to capture more people so more people know what's going on and expanding all of that. So that's one of the goals, as well as in the future, I'm also hoping to spread that to rentals. So if you rent from us, you can also do an opt-in option for your patrons, again, gathering those emails to build up those lists.
Great.
You mentioned the revenue, the small amount that we had. And we're working with a couple different models. Rachel and I are working with a couple different models to try to see what works best, what kind of, if there's a guaranteed amount of revenue versus a risk reward. So we're trying different things out to see where it kind of works.
And it's gonna fluctuate, right? Some bands are more expensive, there's a greater reward if people are buying that. Some bands are less expensive, and then there's a different idea there. And it's also gonna be trying to figure out, what do the people in the surrounding towns in here wanna see? What do they come out for? So that is a perfect segue to what we're talking about the future. This is all still very loose as I continue to get our paperwork settled. I can't actually get offers out until we've got some of that stuff tied up. But we're looking forward to October. We are going to have in September, we're supporting the book festival with friends. They are going to do a family programming event then, which we'll be supporting. The programming in October, you'll see November and December, there will be family programming. We're still figuring out exactly what that is. I am hoping to host some movies to try to see, is that something that gets a different sort of audience in, talking about sensory accessible movies, talking about movies for kids, talking about movies for adults, kind of all about the movie situation. And then these are the tribute bands that are lined up. So Pet Sounds is a Beach Boys tribute band. Bo Sticks is Boston and Styx combined. Then the Dave Matthews tribute to sort of hit a different demographic of entertainment. There is a tarot card comedian that I'm investigating. Maybe, who knows? And then an Elvis Christmas special. So that comes with a 7 or 8 piece orchestra, and it's kind of a spin on an Elvis situation. We want to really have something that everyone can look forward to in your varying degrees of entertainment. So this is something I feel is representing many different age groups, many different categories, a little bit of something for everybody. So this is all still very much in the works, but I wanted to give you just a sneak peek about what's happening. Additionally, in the works, next slide please. So the programming guidelines, this is what we will then be using to make sure our programming is really focused on what you all approve, and then I can go forth and make sure that we have everything we're talking about. That will then be coupled with a performer contract, which I'm hoping to get to the town council this week, next week. So then that will be approved and that will be a template moving forward so we can actually book things in a regular pace. The rental policy, rental contract, and rental packet are all in the works as well, clarifying exactly who can rent and what the objectives are there. So if anyone has any questions about can I rent, what's the limits on that will all be very clear and available on the new website. So that is one of the big things that I'll be focusing on in the next couple of weeks. The timeline on that is hoping to be like a 12 to 16 week turnaround with a brand new brand identity and website. And then we're still working on classes with Parks and Rec. So we have theater classes that are hoping to start in the fall. And Michelle and I were just discussing volunteer engagement. So hosting some volunteer days so we can get people in this space, they can take ownership of what's happening there, train them to be ushers. So we're talking about how this is not a community theater, this is a theater for community as one of the main objectives of what we're working towards. And I think those are the goals for the next couple of months.
Great.
Questions?
I'm curious about your ideas for brand.
Yes. So for branding and doing research about other theaters of similar size, something that's really important to me personally is identifying that this is a space that is town owned. I think there's a lot of confusion about who owns this space and what kind of programming happens there. So I want it to be really linked to the town and then clarity in that branding moving forward about that we do all sorts of programming. So I'm thinking about that brand identity. I don't want it to be too theatery or too dancey or too musicy because we're gonna encompass all of that. How do we do that? I don't know, we're gonna talk to our creative agency. That's what he's tasked with. So that's sort of where I'm landing right now.
You know, one of the things I've thought of when I look at the theater and it says the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, no one would know that it's a town facility. So maybe we have something above that says the Town of Newcastle Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. It's just a thought I had. Sometimes people, they come and we have programs and they kind of thank the Chap Pack, and it's kind of odd because it's, you know, just us, our staff doing the work and friends as well, but even among people who live here, there's
I think it's really
it's
important
very
to clarify
vague.
that.
But I do want people to know that it is I'm interested in the difference between community theater and theater for community, but I've always thought of it as both.
So community theater itself tends to be someplace that's putting on created productions. So that means that in-house they're building the sets and the props and they're doing the lighting and they're creating a show there. So that's actually separate from what's happening. We're bringing lots of shows in a variety of capacity and lots of different kind of performance arts. So I want it to be clarified there that it's a space that lots of things happen, and it's not just one thing. I think that's something that's unique about the space that you don't see at perhaps a theater that is exclusively doing musicals and plays in surrounding towns.
That's
Or
really
that has
accurate,
a
that makes
particular
sense.
season, like summer or something like that, right? So are there particular corners of the community where you're going to seek volunteer engagement? Like, are you looking at teenagers or residents with disabilities or?
All of the above. Everyone is welcome. Absolutely. So I think we're going to just put out the call, right? After our first 2 shows, I had 3 or 4 emails just directly saying, hey, I'd like to volunteer. And I was like, great, I'll add you to the list. And then I started the list. So, that was a great start. So we want to put it out there that we are available and we're here and we're going to do shows on a regular basis and we're going to need more hands. Right? So we need people to be trained so that when you come to the theater, you know where to sit and you are welcomed and it's a space that you feel like you belong. And so anyone and everyone is welcome. And I truly believe there's a job for everybody. There's a task at the Performing Arts Center for everyone.
And how are you feeling about the facility?
So the facility is in need of some love. So when we're talking about these volunteer days, Michelle and I were just thinking of doing one that's structured on like physical improvements, something like as simple as like going through the seats and cleaning them up and, you know, taking off the sticker from one of the shows and things like that. Putting some elbow grease into the dressing rooms downstairs is the topic to be discussed a little bit further. It's in the very beginning ideas. And then a training on how to usher and how to be welcoming in the space, sort of 3 separate days about getting involved in the space.
And the lobby and the offices and like the front of house feels okay,
Everything needs love,
everything. Got it.
It's very tactful.
and we're here to give it. That's the best part. And I'm very excited. I mean, we've been talking to friends and working very closely. So we were working on the memo of understanding to really clarify the relationship and how Friends is supporting the town and the Performing Arts Center, and then how we're supporting them, and really that symbiotic, mutual, beneficial relationship. And that's something that we're working really hard on too. So I'm excited to have that memo move forward as well, and clarify those relationships.
Yeah, I think it's been wonderful, and just in case people are just tuning in and listening in, the whole point was to finally get the theater in hand. Towns usually don't manage theaters, so we had Rachel come in, who has vast experience in theater, right? And so to have a creative vision, which you're sharing with us as you progress, and to have a financial plan for the theater, which is happening. And I really appreciate the way you've worked so well with everyone who's been involved so far, and the relationship with Friends as well, which is very important to us. And I want to recognize Michelle Gregson, who has been working on the theater through Friends for, oh gosh, Michelle, I don't know, like over 10 years. So I want to recognize Michelle Gregson as well, and thank you for doing all the work. And I know you are working together beautifully, so I really appreciate all the passion that you bring to this, because we feel passionate about it too. And I look forward to bringing different parts of the community together. So for instance, the restaurants in the downtown Chappaqua Hamlet, getting connected to what's going on with the theater, with the performances, and having people know that they should maybe have a reservation downtown. There's also Bia, which is in Chappaqua Crossing. Bia does very well. It's a fabulous place. But hopefully show some love to our other restaurants. There's the restaurants in Millwood as well. Spaccarelli is just open and is really great. Kittle House just opened, and we have a slew of restaurants downtown Chappaqua. So I hope to bring all of that in
Absolutely.
as well.
So we're definitely interested in all sorts of connections, and whether that's sponsorship or advertising and partnering, and Michelle is definitely leading the charge on that. She just met with you're gonna get it right for me, am I gonna get it wrong? Revitalization task force,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
To start those conversations,
Oh,
because
good.
we
I'm
have
glad you're in touch with them. They're great.
Yeah, we're in
It's
touch
a
with all
great
the
group.
committees now because
Uh-huh.
we feel that this website is going to be an umbrella, and underneath that we can have links to all these other things that people are doing, so that when people are looking what's happening in town, they don't have to go to 15 places. They can go to our website and have the links to something else, whether it's the restaurants or whatever.
That's perfect. I hope everyone can hear, because you're in the audience. I think their
Come up to the
microphones.
Should I get up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on,
Say
yes.
all of that again into the mic.
Didn't even
No,
put
they-
makeup on. What I'm saying is, one of the things we're hoping to do in talking with all these committees is to have the website be the place where everyone goes first, and then have links to everything else that they're doing. Because otherwise, we're all silo driven, and we're trying to do something across everything, because we've heard and you've heard, I didn't know about that, I didn't know this was happening, I didn't know this. So we're trying to streamline everything so that no one will say that again, basically,
that.
Right.
which is
And
great.
I know the task force is working on a calendar of events, bringing
Right, we'll have a
everything
calendar,
together. So I'm glad
correct.
everyone is coming together.
And she's
website
great,
makes
I
sense.
love work, she's my
Yeah.
sister, I joined at the hip. Looking to do is with regard to the sponsorships is not only to have sponsorship for programs, especially some of them are very expensive, so this way, especially for Friends, because our money becomes the town's money in terms of what we do at Chapac, is to have all of our programs paid for before we sell one ticket, because then everything we do becomes a profit for us, and then we can do more. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy after a while, which is really helpful. But we're looking at the website to sort of, if someone's sponsoring something, to be able to put them front and center on the website. We actually have, we've been working really hard on putting together the sponsorship, so people will even sponsor our ticketing, because it's a very expensive ticketing that we use, but we get so much data, and the marketing data becomes golden. So this way, if we can get someone to pay for that on a yearly basis, that frees up that money as well, and their name will be on every single time someone buys a ticket. So it's very advantageous to them as well.
Cool.
And
Thank you.
So in conclusion, we have big dreams and we're working towards them.
Thank you. Thank you so
Very
much.
much.
Can you please plan something for Halloween?
Yes.
That's my only request. Please do something
She
for
looks like
like
she's already got something in
the
mind.
preteens, the kids that maybe don't wanna go trick or treating anymore.
That's a nice idea.
I also want to do a Mario.
Microphone, everyone's gonna hear you.
Everyone's gonna hear me.
No one can hear you.
You wanna do something related to Mario?
Kart
Mario Kart.
competition.
Great.
Like
Love it,
that underserved too young but too old class of
love it.
individuals.
Okay, wonderful, thank you for coming, and
Thank you.
it sounds wonderful, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and now we're going to have our current projects update. I don't know if it's still quarterly, but it's
Yeah, pretty close.
Sort of
A
that,
lot of
yeah.
these we talked about in the first 2 months of the year. We talked about were some of the board's priorities. Some of those things overlap with this list.
so it's a second quarter update regarding all projects going on in town.
Jeremy, you wanna give this? You know half of these things. All right, we'll start with probably one of the longer running projects in town, the Upper Minkle Dam, the decommissioning of the dam. We can mention going all the way back, we had originally received a couple grants, one from Westchester County and one administered by Dishes at New York State. We thought at the time it was going to pay for the entirety of the project. Little did we know when the DEC and Army Corps of Engineers had the opportunity to review the plans, there was discrepancy or they had a different direction than the plans that we had drawn up, and they were requiring us to actually remove the sediment from the once the dam was dewatered, we had to remove the sediment. We had intended to keep it on site and to kind of redistribute it, make some trails, etc. And the Army Corps' determination was that it was still a water course and if we needed to remove that sediment. So there's a significant amount of dirt and we had to go back to the drawing board and they needed to rework the plans and come up with a plan to remove the sediment. I think the board last heard from our consultant Tectonic probably a year and a half ago. At the time, they had estimated, I think, around $4 million, $4.5 million was probably gonna be ultimate cost, which we then were going to have a funding shortfall. I think last year we found out that we did not receive a grant from the Clean Water, Clean Air and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. We were denied, not that we didn't have a valid application, they actually in the debrief actually said we had a very good application, just too many people looking for money and not enough money to distribute. So Sabrina then went back to the drawing board and submitted for a WQIP grant, which we found out a couple months ago we did receive in the amount of $2.5 million, which is fantastic. We do believe at this point it will cover the remaining costs of the offset from the other two grants that we've already received. We won't know until Tectonic gets back to us at an agonizingly slow pace. But we think we're getting closer to having a final plan from them. But we do think now we have all the funding in place to finish the project, which would be great. I think Eric, you had asked me a question, was there an expiration on the WQIP funding? I don't think so,
It's like 5 years from now.
yeah, we should.
I just know we'd lost the previous.
We actually didn't,
We didn't.
we actually didn't, there was, it was there was a potential to have lost it.
Got it.
We submitted for an extension and were granted an extra 2 years on that, so we did not end up losing that funding.
So that's 2 years from.
December 17th, last December 17th, so.
That's my son's birthday, December 17th.
Beautiful.
There you go. Good
You'll
day.
remember.
I'll remember it, hopefully.
So you expect that this will be completed within the
5
2
years.
years?
The 2 years, I think that was for the design, right? That wasn't for the actual decommissioning of the
Correct.
dam.
So if you had to take a guess at when that actually might
Within 5 years.
be done?
The design's gotta be finished this year, the actual, I think the dewatering has to take place, I thought they said they originally wanted it in the fall. I don't know if you
Yeah,
recall that.
I think that the whole project itself would take about 6 months to decommission and to do what needs to be done. The challenge right now is getting the consultant to move forward and making sure we have all the permits in place to do the work. So I think a safe estimate would be about 3 years.
Thank you.
Next project that we go back to is it 2021 or 22, one of those storms named with an Ida. I see that, I couldn't remember if it's Isaias or Ida, but we had damage to the pedestrian bridge on Route 120. And then as we were inspecting that, we noticed that the Duck Pond Bridge was also in really poor repair, so that we had to close access to. We were able to shore up on a temporary basis the pedestrian bridge, and that is inspected annually to just ensure that that's okay until we get to replace it. So we're to the point where we're finally about ready to replace it. First step of that is gonna be the Duck Pond Bridge, because it's gonna provide access from 120 across the bridge and onto Douglas there. So provide some kind of access for once we complete the duck pond, we will then move on and they'll put the pilings in and they'll bring the deck for the pedestrian walkway. We're told the Duck Pond Bridge has been ordered, it should be delivered in July. I'm not gonna give you a date. Should be early July, but the Duck Pond Bridge should be here in July, and that will be the first step.
Well, we'll get a date at some point because it's, if I remember correctly, it's built already and they're bringing it in.
Yeah, we will get a date.
We'll get a date,
Yeah, I
I
just-
because it's gonna disrupt traffic, I know that's why we've waited.
So the Duck Pond, I don't think, I actually think it's gonna be less disruptive to traffic than we thought.
There we go, Rob.
Yeah, there were some other, as they went back for some of the redesign on some of the pilings and what they're actually doing is driving pilings into the ground and they're laying the decking on top of it and they're bringing that in, it's not being stored, they're bringing it in and laying it down, so maybe brief closures with the crane, but I don't think they're gonna have to close. They had thought maybe they'd have to close a lane,
Okay.
definitely obviously are closing access to the pedestrian bridge,
Right.
but
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
but I think it's gonna be less disruptive than we originally thought.
That's great. We'll be able to like nixle and notify
Oh,
people when
absolutely.
it'll be out. Great,
Yeah.
great, I'm excited.
Do you have a ballpark on the pedestrian bridge?
Yeah, it should be immediately following that, so I think
Okay.
August, September, something like
Okay.
that, I think if the schedule holds, should be installed by the winter this year.
That's great.
Another project that's been a long time coming, and I will mention that these three projects that we talked about were FEMA funded projects. So the original grant for Upper Minkle Dam was a FEMA BRIC grant. I don't recall what the acronym stands for, but it did come from FEMA. And then the other two projects were from storm damage, and they're being funded through FEMA. So this project is the Byram Lake culvert replacement. That's been back and forth again. When you see there's a recurring theme, anything that kind of has to do with the DEC is taking a long time. The permitting there is very slow, and then when they end up giving you comments and then we go back to the consultant and they rewrite it and it goes back to the DEC for comments and that's what the delay is. So I think the issue with the Byram Lake culvert, they originally designed it, DEC's comments were, I think they had to increase the flow of the water that was going through there. So I think we're waiting on final comments coming back from DEC after we redesigned it. There's also a couple issues we need to get, I think prepared CNR consent release for a couple of the residents. One, we need construction access to the property and the other, we're gonna need access to it for general maintenance, so that was another concern. Prepared the CNRs, but we had trouble notifying one of the residents who's been in Europe and hasn't returned for a while.
Must be nice.
Must be. The North Bedford Road pump station, this is the pump station that's up on the school district property, the water pump station. So we are replacing all of the, we had to replace the generator and we're replacing all of the pumps up there. So we're getting really close, this is just about done, the new generator has been placed, it has been set in place, the fence enclosure has been installed, utility pole was put up, the service upgrade, electric service upgrades in place. They'll need to briefly take the pump station offline over the summer to be able to replace the actual pumps themselves and the motors, and once they finish that, we'll be good to go with that.
What happened with the grant applications? Did we follow through? And
Never got
I
any
know they
grants
were
for that one.
unsuccessful. Did we try again?
We have tried, was it the WIIA? Which grant was that? Yeah, we were not successful in that. Unfortunately, we've been successful with quite a few grants, the town, this was not one. We've got the trenchless water main that is going underneath the Sawmill River Parkway and the Metro North Railroad. This is we have had difficulty in getting the final boring, so they need to take samples of what's under the surface to be able to determine how they're going to how to bore it, whether it's all rock, whether it's a combination, whether it's soil. They've been delayed on the third boring because it's actually it has to take place, I think it's in the Sawmill River Parkway, they're requiring or it's adjacent to the Metro North tracks, they're requiring the work to be done overnight when the trains aren't running. We have a brief window to complete this, they have to hand dig it, and they had issues going back and forth with the contractor. That was finally settled, that should be scheduled any day now. But that's what the holdup has been. The design is almost complete for that project, they're just waiting to determine the composition of what's underneath the surface, so once they have that, they can move forward with that project. Cement relining for water mains, the town issued an RFP, I think at the beginning of the year, came back, H2M was selected as the consultant, was the low bidder. We're currently working with Lino's partner Mike Starvaggi on the final wording for the contract. We've had a little bit of back and forth on that and trying to confirm their insurance requirements. Once that's set, they will begin design work for the project. Just to mention some of the roads that or the water lines under the roads under Kathleen Lane, Daly Cross, Horseshoe Road, Valley View, Brookside Circle, High Point, Lakeview, Adams, and Possum Roads. Those are all projects that all roads that will be affected by these projects. The Millwood Water Treatment Plant, the heating oil tank replacement project, we're needing to replace an underground tank with a new above ground tank. The engineering work has been completed, project is out to bid, and the bid opening is in 9 days on June 18th. The Quaker Road water main replacement, that is where the town is replacing 6-inch main with 10-inch water main. from Hunt's Place up to the Quaker Friends Meeting House. So this project is tied in with a couple of county projects that will affect it. And the first of which is the Joan Corwin Way sewer relief. And how it's tied into that is the county has two separate projects that they're working on. The Joan Corwin Way sewer relief project, and then they will be running a sewer line up Quaker that kind of mirrors where we're running the water line. So once we found out about the county project, we decided to piggyback on their project. Since they were already gonna have the road open with their sewer line, we then decided to replace our water mains, which were aging anyways. The county is not gonna run those projects simultaneously because of the huge effect on traffic. So they're waiting until the Joan Corwin Way project is completed to start work on the Quaker Road project. So that's why those three projects are tied in together, and that's why the water main and the sewer line up Quaker won't happen until the Joan Corwin Way project is complete. I did get an update on the Joan Corwin Way project yesterday. They said the contract has been finalized from the county, but apparently that just happened. They haven't set a pre-construction meeting, which is at the point where they'll invite the town staff to hear some of the plans, some of the safety plans, et cetera, that are in place. They haven't set that meeting yet, so that should be soon.
But just so I understand, it's 3 projects and it's one at a time, they're not happening simultaneously, it's not,
Yeah.
we're just not
The-
reopening the ground.
Correct, the water main and sewer up Quaker, that's a single project, so yeah, that'll be combined, but the Joan Corwin Way is a separate project completely.
And that'll be an 18-month.
That'll be 18 months, correct.
And this is a huge win that we're gonna be able to do this all, rather than having to reopen the
Oh,
ground. It's
yeah.
a huge win. I know you've talked about it before, but
Absolutely.
I'll just mention it again,
Yeah.
this is a big one.
It's we're able to save money, we're
Save money,
piggybacking on the
save time.
contract for the design, we're using the county's designer. Once the road's already open, we don't have to reopen it, it doesn't have to get paved twice, yeah, it's
Huge win.
I just wanna thank County Executive Ken Jenkins
Yeah.
for this. About couple of years ago, we were having trouble coordinating with the county, and he came into his new position and came to meet with us. And we told him about this, and right away we were able to coordinate with the county. So I wanna thank County Executive very much, because that would have been a tremendous waste of time, a tremendous waste of money for the town.
Yeah, very helpful. Moving on to a couple of the other infrastructure projects, the Millwood Water Treatment Plant, the generator replacement, still waiting to finalize that project. We had a final, it's called a bus bar, it's I think electronic component panel that needed to be installed right now so that the connections happen automatically instead of manually. That's been ordered, they're waiting to install that. Once that's installed, that project should be completed and closed out. At the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, if anybody's been up there recently, you will notice that this is all part of the project. We built the parking lot, the handicap parking lot right next to the facility, then there's a walkway that comes down out of there. They had to put a rail in that was part of the issue. The original designer of the project, we actually had to take them off the project and designed it in-house because they just couldn't come up with a plan that was suitable. In any case, that's finally complete. They installed the railing this spring, and the project now is ready to be closed. So all that exterior work that included drainage, the gas service line, the parking lot, and the walkway, it's all been complete now. The chap line. Sabrina and I thought we were having a meeting this afternoon, but the meeting got pushed back till next week. So they're working on the final path design, and kind of the holdup appears to be there are 5 homes that the pathway that they're running up to the high school on Roaring Brook Road. It's kind of difficult, I guess, engineering wise connections with the driveways that are at the existing
So
properties.
this is the sidewalk going to the trailhead? Okay.
Yeah, the sidewalk. So it's all going to be built in the right of way. There won't be any property takings or anything like that. It's in the right of way. But because of the slope of the road there and the topography, some of those connections are difficult. So we said Tuesday we're meeting to hopefully finalize that and we're hoping so. It should not, Eric, I think you asked me a question, would that push back the project? I don't think so. She'll give me a revised timeline. There's a timeline on our website for the project. They were supposed to have this completed in April, it's early June. It's not quite completed, so that's a little bit behind schedule, but I don't think the overall project will be affected by this.
But Rob, is the rest of the design completed
Yeah.
and we're just waiting for that
Yep.
that stretch? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome. Another long-time project that has finally seen some movement is the Millwood sidewalk. That has been many years. That was, part of that is gonna be funded by a multimodal grant for $500,000. But that's an old grant that we were able to apply to that property. It hasn't expired, we've confirmed that. The problem with that has been, there have been quite a few problems with that. New York State DOT was an issue because we had to acquire land. We needed Con Ed to move some of their poles. We now need Verizon to move some of their poles. Con Ed needs to relocate some wires. I think we're at the end. I know I said final utility pole relocations have been completed because I was optimistic. It was supposed to happen last week. I think one of them did not because of the apparently the crew got called somewhere else, but that should happen soon. Board issued the authorization to go out to bid, I think, last meeting. We're gonna go out to bid and we should see some movement on that project. That's been 6-7 years in development, so it's been a while.
Great. Okay.
Moving on, another one of the kind of hot button items that we've been talking about lately is improving cell service overall throughout the town. So last year we had some conversations specifically with Verizon and those ultimately didn't lead to a site that was viable. We then picked up the conversation with a company called Homeland Towers. Homeland Towers is a company that specifically installs these towers. They've got a couple in town currently. They've got some in nearby towns and they're looking to add more to the town. So we've had a couple meetings with them. Unfortunately, we have not been able to identify a site on town-owned property that works for them. We did the study 4 years ago. The cell service, we partnered with the county on a project that kind of identified our coverage gaps. That's on our website. But we know where the gaps are, but the problem is trying to get them covered. And Homeland Towers kind of shifted since they didn't have any sites owned by the town that they felt were viable that actually helped them improve the coverage. They're now seeking some private property owners and they were to have had some conversations with them. We do have a meeting scheduled soon, within the next week or so, with Homeland Towers to kind of get an update on the sites that they identified and if they've had any progress with any of the private homeowners.
It's tomorrow.
Meeting's tomorrow.
What's that?
The meeting is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Well, I just wanted to confirm, so
Okay.
we need to confirm that.
Yeah. Yep, it is tomorrow. I don't always look at my calendar.
No, it's great
Until I wake up in
That's
the
great,
morning.
Rob. We thought it was next week and now you moved it up to tomorrow.
It's on my calendar, I wouldn't have
That was
missed it.
very
I wasn't
effective.
That was very effective.
I didn't wanna say anything because you sounded unsure, so I thought we would check.
Yeah,
Okay.
I check my calendar every day when I wake up. Newstat Lane culvert replacement, this is something that is appearing new on the current projects. We have designed this project in-house. There are actually two culverts on Newstat Lane that have been in some disrepair for a while that need to be replaced. That has been designed in-house. The board authorized the time to go out to bid on the project. We're also pursuing a grant for the funding for this. Sabrina, do you recall which one this was off the top of your head?
No, off the top of my head.
Jeff is the one, Jeff Gaspar, engineer, is the one that's applying for it, but we're hopeful that we
Might be
may,
under the Clean Water Act.
yeah, it might be that.
Common, the consolidated funding application.
So we're hoping to receive funding for that. Let's see, covering a couple of the the New York State DOT projects in the town of Newcastle. We have the Route 117 Old House Lane culvert replacement. This has actually been in the works for several years with State DOT. We had a meeting with them last week and they presented the plans. They're finally proceeding with this. They actually may begin work starting yesterday. We don't have exact confirmation, and it won't whatever they're doing out there now won't result in a full road closure. They may be doing some work on Con Ed, some of the gas main relocations that they have to do. But the full road closures are expected to begin on June 29th, and they're expected to continue through September 4th. Work is expected to be completed by the start of the fall. So I can just go into a little more of the detail right now. This is a project that was, I think, first brought to us about 2 or so more years ago. The county has been replacing culverts throughout Westchester County. The town actually, I think there were 3 that they were doing. One was up on Quaker Road back about a year and a half, 2 years ago maybe. There's another project that they're doing with a culvert that goes underneath the Sawmill River Parkway that is slated to take place in, they had originally thought maybe September, now probably not until October. That project will result in a closure on the Sawmill River Parkway, I think during the weekends, I think 2 or 3 weekends they're intending, but that project, the dates haven't been confirmed and the full scope of that has not been confirmed yet. But going back to,
Just to clarify, the one you just mentioned, the actual parkway will be closed?
actual parkway will be closed, yep. They will be diverting traffic, Roaring Brook Road to the north and the next exit down in Pleasantville to the south.
Okay.
So going back to the Route 117, I can actually
Rob, do you know what the route of that,
Yep.
those detours will be?
Yep.
You know, regarding the 117 Old House culvert project, you were going to show us the route at the town board meeting portion and in your administrator's report. But I see that you have it up here.
I had it included in this.
So
And my
and there
update
are
as well.
people in the audience who are waiting to hear about it, so maybe if we can show it here,
Yeah.
they can see it. If people wanna stay for public comment later, you're free to stay, but at least
Yeah.
you can decide whether to stay or not. We could take a look at it here. I did respond to some emails earlier and I did let people know that this first was not a town project, so the town is not really charged with creating the diverted route.
Mhm.
But the state would not be diverting traffic onto local roads. So
Yeah.
you know, you can show the route.
You're correct, I know it's not a great if you're watching at home, you can probably see it a little better. Up here, it's not particularly easy. Where my cursor is here, this is the junction of 117 and 120. So where the detour is going to detour around down 120, up Route 22, and then 128 back onto 117. And that's the commercial detour route for that's been provided New York State DOT. So I will point out, there were discussions, they have shared this with us. There have been different drafts and iterations of this. They're not using any local roads for this, no private roads, no local roads. It's hard to see on the map. We're gonna have, Sabrina's actually working on a better, more kind of user-friendly map. These are the actual engineering drawings from the project, and there are a lot of different designations on here. But if you look, a lot of these little signs, Jeremy, when we talked or when you emailed, you mentioned some of the signs that we could put up. And there's quite a few detour signs. I can actually share. These are all the different signs that will be used on this project. There are road closed ahead, road closed, I think, local traffic only. There are 117 detour route signs. Currently, they have 2 electronic signboards placed, one to the south on 117, one to the north. Jeremy, you made a suggestion, I talked to Bart, we are gonna pass along to New York State DOT and ask that they put signs on Sawmill River Parkway. He thought that was a valid request, and he pointed out that I guess the state is currently doing this project on Route 22, I think in North Castle, and they do have signs on 684 posted. So he thought that was a valid request, and he thought they would probably honor that. One sign that he noted in this list that he didn't think that he was gonna request as well was a sign that said no trucks on the local roads. So I will mention New York State DOT has worked with us in particular on the timing of this project. So I mentioned it's been going on a couple of years. Actually, the engineer in charge of this project for New York State DOT retired in the middle of the project. So the guy that started is not the guy that's finishing it. But they're aware. We have made them aware of the concerns with school buses and trying to get to Gedney. We had the issue with Con Ed doing the work up there in the fall. And we actually ended up getting New York State to change the work permit for Con Ed to change it. I think the construction hours got reduced to 9 to 2 so that it didn't affect any of the school buses. So New York State DOT and their contractor are aware of the school buses, and that was the urgency to get this done. That's why they're closing the road immediately after school gets out in the spring. And they'll hope to have it by the time school goes back in the fall. So I'm told within the contract, they did not bid it with specific requirements. There are no liquidated damages, which would penalize the contractor for not finishing by a certain date, nor did they provide any incentives, which would help them to rush it along. But again, in the conversation, the meeting that we had with them, they're aware of this, and they did say, they will, based on the progress that they're making through the project, if it doesn't appear that they're gonna finish on time, they may ask to extend the hours of construction in order to be able to do so we can get the road back open as soon as we can.
What are the current hours, did you mention?
9 to 2 were the hours while school's in session, but I think they can go to 4:30. I think 8 to 4:30 on a normal day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I thought it was 9 to 6, Rob.
9 to 6, sorry chief, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was 9 to 6. I do wanna speak about that, the no trucks on local roads. That would require a law change or a code change
Okay,
to enforce, so I'm not sure that that's actually doable.
alright, thanks chief. Chief, any other comments? Since you're there.
Yeah, that's it for now. Wait till Jeremy goes.
Okay, does the board have any other questions on that project?
I don't think so.
And like I said, we'll have a more user-friendly map of that to be able to share, map of the detour to be able to share online.
Rob, just, I mean, maybe it's on the map, but for people who live locally there, so in order for them to get, to their homes or out from their homes, what's the part that's actually gonna be
It's actually gonna be closed just at Roadhouse, at Old
just
House,
at
I'm
Old
sorry,
House?
yeah.
So the residents of Old House, and we know who's there, but what?
They will have access, the residents there have been notified, they will have access. There will be a brief, they'll have a water interruption for I think 8 hours when there are some water connections that they have to replace. So the water service will be shut off to that road. I think that road only, I don't think, they were gonna confirm, but I don't think it affects any of the other homes right on 117.
So the people along 117 and in the, neighborhoods, if you're north of Old House, if you need to access the sawmill, you're gonna need to go north, right? And if you're south, you're gonna need to,
Correct, yep.
okay.
But if people are traveling locally, like they go to downtown Chappaqua and they come back and they wanna go home, like are people going to be allowed through?
You will be allowed, the road is only blocked at Old House, so you will be able to go through there, yeah.
Okay.
Was your question, will people be able to?
I mean,
Somebody answered my
117 is
question.
gonna be
There's
closed,
no
right?
block other than Old House Lane, 117 and Old House Lane.
But it
That's-
is 117 that's closed.
117.
117 is close, yep.
So if you're going from town, you're gonna have to go up to the Roaring Brook exit and back down.
Okay, thank you.
I did mention the Sawmill River Parkway culvert replacement, like I said, they're thinking September, October at this point, it could even get pushed. When we met last week, they didn't have much of an update on that, so I'm not certain. Couple of the Westchester County projects I already touched on. The Joan Corwin Way project, I said we were awaiting approval of the contract. I printed this out on Friday. I found out on Monday that they did approve the contract, so they are on schedule to begin work on that in late summer, probably late August at the very earliest. Probably more like September that'll start, and construction is expected to take 18 months. And then I also mentioned the extension of the county trunk line going up 120, and that will not happen until the Joan Corwin sewer relief is finished. Some really good news on one of the federal government projects, the grade crossing elimination over the Sawmill River Parkway and the Metro North Railroad tracks. Last update we had, we did not think that this project was going forward. We were notified about a year and a half ago that the state had received about a $2.5 million, $2.6 million grant for the design of the project. We then, when Sabrina requested an update towards the end of last year, we were told there was a kickoff meeting that was scheduled and it was canceled by the federal government and they hadn't set a date. So we thought we were kind of nowhere with that. Sabrina just reached out a couple weeks ago and we were told that it's actually on. Kickoff meeting is now scheduled for June 23rd. And New York State is applying for funding for the actual construction of the project, which I don't recall the original estimate, was it around 60 million or
50 million.
50 million? Yeah, it's now estimated at 135 million, but
That was over 10 years ago. When Chuck Schumer came
Probably
down,
yeah.
we had a press conference.
Yep.
So I have a question about that. This is a tremendous project.
Yeah.
I'm really amazed that they are actually following through with it. With the kickoff meeting, I mean, obviously it's a DOT project, but it's happening in our town.
Yep.
And so, of course, we're going to find out where where the bridge is going to begin and end, but it's happening in the vicinity of the chap line.
Yep.
And so I would like to, when we go to the kickoff meeting, to try to influence where
So
the pathways are going, because it would be
there,
really wonderful to have the ability to walk. I don't know what this bridge is going to look like, if there are going to be lanes for walking and biking. But if you could go from the chap line over the sawmill, and then there's Pine Cliff Sanctuary on the other side, you could create a whole radius of walking trails from downtown Chappaqua all the way up to Chappaqua Crossing, going over that new bridge and going, through Pine Cliff Sanctuary to that, back to downtown Chappaqua.
We've shared with them our plans for the chap line. So they have the survey, they have the information. I think there will be continued discussion. I don't know that they have actually designed the physical bridge yet. But it is very reasonable to expect that we want it to be for more than just automobiles.
Yeah, and do you think there would be a way to connect to Pine Cliff Sanctuary, or to provide some sort
Possibly,
of trail to create? I mean, it would be a fantastic connection for us to do that.
I mean, it's early in the process. I think
A lot of that
they're
is-
well aware
Yeah.
of this project. They've been communicating with Jeff and Sabrina over the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
requesting the plans.
I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think a lot of it will depend on where that bridge is going to fall
Exactly, yeah.
topographically on the other side. Where it's gonna take off on the high school side, on the west side, and where it will end up on the east side if you're going south. And then any connections after that on the other side, of course, would be town responsibility, but until we're very preliminary in
Yeah.
all of this.
But I
And so
think
having the
being in
conversation.
the preliminary part of this is the important part,
Yeah,
because that's where the plans are being made and ideas are being,
we're
brought
at perfect
forward, so
timing.
this is the time.
It
And
was
if
very,
the bridge extends beyond Pine Cliff, I mean, hopefully we can have an access point.
Yeah, it was very fortuitous for us to reach out when we did, and it was because another grant came by my desk and I forwarded it to the guys who wrote the last grant, and we found out that this was going on. And
Yes, Sabrina said,
what
should
grant
we
was
apply
that?
for this? And they
Again.
said,
Right.
no need, you already have one.
I remember sending you a bunch of grant applications, I don't know, there was a flurry of them.
Yeah, it's a federal railroad grant that just came through, and I was like, let's try again, and they're like, we already tried, we got it, we're moving forward, so we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
That's really good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Next are the sidewalks on Route 117. I kind of reversed the order in the sheets that you have, but I'll talk about the first around the mobile station right now. Jeff is just finalizing those plans. That should be built in the fall of this year, we're expecting. We then talked about a phase 2 of that, which would extend the sidewalk down to Salem. We were hoping to be able to just piggyback on the contract for the surveying of the original project, but the estimate came in, it's over $100,000 for that, and it's recommended that we actually go out to RFP for that as a separate project. So we're in the process of preparing the RFP and getting the additional quotes for that project. The proposed sewer line, sewer service up at Amsterdam Park. This is gonna be made possible by a CREST grant provided by Senator Harcum. Our engineering department is completing the design work in-house. I'm told it's just about done. We're expected to, over this winter, complete the interior renovations, which are 2 bathrooms and the finishing of the upper area of the carriage house up there at Amsterdam. Then in the early spring, it's expected they can install the sewer line. It is anticipated and we're on schedule to be able to have that completed by the time summer camp starts in 2027. So that would be a great addition. We won't have to rent bathroom trailers anymore. That will actually be a building that we can use the upstairs now instead of just storage, so.
This would be for Camp Adventure? Right, the
Yes,
big
correct,
camp.
Adventure.
Right, does this mean we can increase capacity?
No, it's,
Oh,
well, not at the current time. What this does is just provide facilities. So the last couple of years, we've been renting bathroom trailers up there and there hasn't been proper facilities for them to use, so that's what this will provide. It may, in conjunction with the kind of the building needs assessment that we've been looking at, it might allow us to move recreation offices to that building. The building's currently being used for storage. If we're able to move the storage somewhere, and then we might be able to put offices there. So that was one of the conversations I actually just had last Friday with DCAK when they were on site, and he asked me, what would we think about moving, some of our offices off-site, and I said, no, actually, that was a thought. That's actually always been a thought in renovating that place, to kind of centralize all the rec activities there, so.
okay.
The next couple are kind of on hold due to that building needs assessment. We've talked about some improvements with the parking lot, refurbishing town hall. We've got a roof that needs replacing, we've got HVAC that needs replacing. We're working with DCAK. They have now been out 3 times for meetings with our staff. They came out on Friday, they were on the roof to assess that. They were in our mechanical rooms to assess everything there. I think they met with a couple of departments, your department, I think Josh, a couple others. So they're gonna follow up with that, so that process is continuing. Let's see, recycling and parks garage building repairs, that work was complete in May. They needed to shore up, I think, the foundation, and there were some other exterior repairs and some painting that was required. That was completed. The ADA bathrooms at Town Hall, we completed the 2 upstairs, we completed the 2 downstairs. I think we had 2 more, Chief can probably remind me, in the police department that were to be renovated. Unfortunately, we lost our master carpenter and our chief of building maintenance, both retired in the last couple months. So that's kind of put us a little behind in those kind of, I don't know, those were more, chief may disagree, those are kind of nice to have projects instead of need to have. So we've kind of had to reprioritize, and that's kind of on the back burner at the moment. Providing Wi-Fi service and possibly emergency call boxes in our town parks. I did not have a chance to follow up today, but our electrician was meeting with Verizon today. And some of the problems, we had call boxes in Getney Park, I think in a couple parks years ago. And what happened, these were all the Verizon, the old copper lines, and they took those all out of service. So what we would need to do is run fiber to the new locations. So our electrician was meeting with Verizon today to see how we start that process. He's also pricing out different options for some of these call boxes. There's a lot of options when it comes to those. So he's gonna come up with some options. We'll see what works, what's feasible, what works pricing wise, and try to bring Wi-Fi service to some of these parks. One thing we talked about with the sewer line up at Amsterdam, it's there's a pump that's gonna pump the sewage. It's not a it's not a gravity feed line, so it's a pump, and one of the things we have to do is monitor that with the SCADA system, and we need Wi-Fi to be able to do that, in that, so I'll update the board when I hear back and see what the next step is to bring the Wi-Fi service there.
Thank you for doing that, Rob. Appreciate and moving quickly.
Yep.
To get that done. Okay.
We had replacement of the Amsterdam Park playground equipment. That was completed last month. That was funded with a $100,000 CREST grant from Peter Harcum. Again, we thank him for all that work. His CREST grant for the sewer work is going to just really allow us to upgrade that whole facility, so that's great. And let's see, one other grant that we received is for the 9/11 refurbishment of the 9/11 memorial. We received 5 bids. We selected Tony Casale as the low bidder. He's currently working with our designer and our engineer. We should have approval of him on the 23rd, our next meeting. Work is expected to begin in July and completed by September 1st on the new design for the 9/11 memorial.
Cutting it close.
Cutting it close. Nothing about this project has been simple. But yeah, we think we'll get there.
Well, it's important, so thank you, Rob.
Welcome. And lastly, and this will kind of meld in with our public hearing for the night, the traffic safety initiatives that we're working on for the town. Tonight we'll have the public hearing on lowering the speed limit townwide to 25 miles an hour. Once that's enacted, we're gonna work with Creighton Manning, our consultant, on the implementation of that new signage and the reduced speed. And supervisor will follow that up with we're gonna launch a campaign, a traffic safety campaign throughout the town to I think there's many components to this, and it's not just the speed limit that we're trying to change. We're gonna target distracted drivers and pedestrians on the road, and we'll come up with some safety initiatives and a program to address that.
Right, the question was who would help us do that campaign, whether it was Creighton Manning, who initially said they would help us to do that, but maybe it's something we can do in-house, so that's going to be the question surrounding that.
Yeah, I think we talked to Creighton Manning will help implement the speed limit change and can help maybe with some of the traffic calming measures, but then I think there's a component of that that's kind of the public awareness.
Right, there's an educational campaign
Yeah,
to
for
be
sure.
had. I did have some ideas around that. We, for instance, one of the things we have to do is engage the high school students, they're new drivers. So I thought maybe the high school we could have a contest for PSA, designing of a PSA project for the high school kids, so that they could be aware and the parents are aware that this is something we're working on. So that's something we could definitely do in-house, but maybe there's a better way to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's for a discussion for another time. Yep.
And that's all I have for the
Okay.
updates.
Thank you, Rob. Those are all of the town projects. It's very, very comprehensive and long, but all of it is important work, so thank you for keeping track of all of it.
I'm really happy to see so many that have been completed. That's
I am too. I like to
Yeah.
check things off. I've said one of the things that maybe is not as fulfilling in my new job as it was in the past. It's hard to check things off. They're longer range. When I do a budget, the budget's done. When I complete the financial statements, it's done. Financial reporting, it's done. Here, there's so many open things, and I wanna get things done.
Yeah, and the two big new ones that I don't think people expected to happen are the chap line and the railroad crossing elimination. Those are huge and they'll really change the town for the better. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're happy. Sabrina, how long have you been involved in discussions for the the grade crossing.
Started 14 years ago.
Right, so it's been the product of a lot of work by a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Prior staff,
Okay.
prior administrator.
It'll probably be another 14 years.
No, don't say that, don't say that.
I don't know about that.
Don't say that.
But I think the idea for the chap line was brought to the town board by a resident, and I should get his name and invite him. Anyway, so let's move on, thank you, Rob. Let's move on to the administrative items.
Alright. We have a retroactive payment of claims. We have the authorization to approve the application for the fireworks permit for the Mount Kisco Country Club. That's the annual show that they do, they're holding it on July 4th. Emergency services are notified and they'll be standing by, they're aware of it. We have the authorization to approve the police voice recording system. This is an annual leasing fee for business electronics, $4,650 was included in the budget. We have the authorization to renew the annual service agreement with iWork Systems. I think we added a cross-connection backflow management component. That's the software that DPW uses to track their work orders. Total of $12,500. Authorization to accept our CHIPS funding. So once the state approved its budget last week or week before, now comes the CHIPS funding that's distributed. There's several different components, but they all total $627,000, $627,585. That's an increase of $32,595 over last year's amount. We have the authorization to award bids for the DPW water maintenance materials. It's several items that were included in the spreadsheet. Jeremy, got a declaration of surplus vehicles and authorization to auction. We have a 2015 Ford F-150 from Department of Public Works and a 2006 New Holland loader from the Parks Department.
Grand total?
Oh, we're going out to bid. We'll accept the
Oh.
bid results.
You trying to buy it, huh?
No, Jeremy just always was
That's
keeping.
Jeremy likes the
We'll message
total
him,
amount,
let you know
yes.
the total, Jeremy.
Yeah, once we accept that, we'll have a total amount. We have the authorization to approve the website design RFP for ChatPack from the MAP agency. Total for the branding and website design is $25,000. I think there's a component for ongoing maintenance of the site is $500 a month. Rachel, how many responses to the RFP? 19. So Rachel sifted through 19 RFPs.
I interviewed 7,
Wow. That's a lot.
committed.
Thanks, Rachel.
So MAP agency was the winner. They're reasonably local, right? Yeah, so she's just waiting for this approval to get moving and put that website up. We have the authorization to approve piggybacking on Mount Kisco's paving contract with for Turner Lane. So what happened is Mount Kisco was paving their portion of Turner Lane. They offered us the opportunity to use their vendor to finish paving our portion of the road. We thought that was a great idea. We've done that before and it's great to work with them on that. Not to exceed $12,500 for that. And finally, we have the authorization to post a MEO position in the highway department. That's to fill the vacancy of Stephen Farrell, who we are about to approve for the building maintenance position.
Rob?
Yep.
Is there supposed to be a change order for ChatPack?
Yeah, we removed that. We didn't
Okay.
have that. That was for that project that I was closing out, but Jeff wasn't able to get the total amount to me prior.
Okay.
We had it as a placeholder, but we ultimately removed it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that does it for the work session. May I have a motion to adjourn the work session and open the town board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Rob, do you wanna start with any announcements? Rob or Christina?
Yeah, do you wanna give?
The new parking year begins this month, June 15th. So all permits will expire, including merchant permits, and of course the train station permits. Please get your applications in as soon as possible. We say allow 3 days for processing. So please return them to the town clerk's office as soon as possible. You can also go online and apply through Pango. Thank you.
That's important. Anything else? Okay, supervisor's report, I want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month. We had a great celebration, we had a great raising of the Pride flag last Saturday, June 6th. Celebrated inclusion, equality, and community. It was really well attended, there were a lot of people. I wanna thank our representatives, Pete Harcum, Senator Pete Harcum, Assemblyman Chris Burdick, County Executive Ken Jenkins, County Legislator Vedant Gashi, and our town board, Jen Klein, Holly McCall, Ali Kemptov, and Eric Marmon. Thank you for attending. And I wanna thank the committee members who put together a really great day. Jennifer Simon, Chair, Alida Cruz, Georgia Schwartz, Sally Foster, and Angelo Giannato. And I wanna thank Officer Michelle Mazzati for raising the flag, and CCSD students who spoke and gave remarks. There were music, balloons, and popsicles, and it was a wonderful day. I also want to recognize that this is Gun Violence Awareness Month. As you can see, we're wearing orange to recognize and bring awareness to this. We haven't had an event in a while for gun violence awareness. We used to, the last event we had was, very sadly unattended, if you recall. And I would just hope that there was more awareness, and that, people not wait until something happens, but we still wanna recognize that this is a time to reflect on this problem. It's really an epidemic. I think the statistics are that in this year alone, there have been 177 mass shootings, I think. Christine, I don't know if you looked that up, but that's in our resolution that we're going to read today. And it's still the number one cause of children's death of children. So and I've asked that the gazebo be lit in orange on this occasion for, I don't know if it's gonna be for the month, but certainly for the week. So I wanna recognize this month. I don't know if there's anything anyone else wants to say about either. You can, yes, but before we do that, I wanna say that last week on June 3rd, the town was recognized and got an award from the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation for the redevelopment of what is now Chappaqua Crossing. We had town administrator Rob, Sabrina was there, our building inspector Tom DePaul, planning board members Bob Kirkwood, and former member Tom Curley, the former attorney at the time Les Waxman, a former supervisor Rob Greenstein was there, a former town council member Adam Brodsky, and the developer from Summit Greenfield, Felix Charney. We're laughing because these people were at each other's throats at some point. I was not part of the town at all, so that's my disclaimer. Jeremy was there, and I'm sure he could regale you with stories. But it was really fun actually to see everyone together. I forgot to mention the town engineers. I wanna thank Bob Cioli, who wasn't there but worked quite a bit on this, and Jeff Gaspar, our current engineer, is still working on it. So it was a great event. The Westchester Planning Federation is an organization that Sabrina is very heavily involved in, so thank you for your work with them. I think they honored you last year, and you got an award for your work. So I just wanted to say it was a great evening, and it's great for the town to be recognized in that way. And there are two events. Ali's gonna talk about one of them coming up possibly on Saturday.
It's happening. Knicks Game 5 watch party. Thank you to our amazing town staff who have put up with my annoying requests to have a Knicks Game 5 watch party this Saturday. Rec fields, we're gonna have food trucks, we're gonna have a jumbo screen. It's gonna be an amazing community event. Bring your coolers, bring your chairs, right over here. I think tip-off's about 8:30 p.m., Knicks and 5.
Amazing, thank you for doing that, Ally.
Thank you, town staff.
But before that happens, at 11:30, right, that's the time, there's going to be more public art. There's gonna be another mural reveal at our Bridge Gallery. This is under the bridge overpass. And we have 4 more murals that are going to be revealed. The theme of the murals is the theme of community. There are 4 murals there that were revealed, I think, I wanna say 6 months ago, or maybe more than that. And the other 4 spaces across the way are going to be a setup with some beautiful murals painted by members of this community, and 2 of them have been painted by students. So I wanna thank the Arts and Culture Committee. Jen Klein is the liaison to that. And we are really looking forward to it. So it'll be at 11:30 under the bridge, and we hope that people join us. It'll be a wonderful event. Do you wanna add anything?
I think you said it all. I just wanna emphasize that it's the taller side of the bridge. So the murals
They're gonna be
are
bigger.
than the 4 that are already on. So I really want to encourage people to come, and especially if you haven't seen the 4 that are already installed. I mean, it's gonna be, magnificent to have all 8 spots filled. And each piece is just so unique and different from the other, so I hope people will come out.
All right then, good. And finally, for some people, that brings us to our public comment section. So anyone with public comment, please feel free to come to the microphone, and even if we know you very well, you must still identify yourself and your place of residence.
Yes, Jeremy Salan. Jeremy Salan, Seneca Drive, a longtime fan, first time caller. So I appreciate Rob for that information, and I thank all of you, and I'll say in advance, I know it's never an easy task. I've obviously sat in your seat, and it's difficult to appease everyone, but there are real concerns about the replacement of the culverts on 117 by Old House. And even if it's a state project, there's things that we wanna make sure that are done locally, because the traffic is not going to be detoured through our neighborhood, but by default, there are going to be people driving, and local people who know neighborhoods and know how to get from A to Z and R and all the way around, who are gonna end up coming up roads such as Overlook, Upland, Paulding, etc. In no particular order, some of my bigger concerns are those roads are incredibly windy and steep. So I don't know how many of you have driven actually on those roads, but they have significant blind spots if you're coming up Paulding, for example. There's a very steep curve. There's been more than one occasion in a winter time, though not now, where people have slid off that road. But when people are in a rush and don't know that road, you're coming down Paulding, if you're trying to cut going southbound, and it's very steep and very curvaceous, you can find yourself in a really nasty situation. And there's kids walking, there's people walking, there's dogs, there's kids on tricycles and bicycles, so it's very, very dangerous. There's not a stop sign there either, there's nothing until you hit the end of Paulding on 117. I was driving down Algonquin today, which is a road that's not immediately accessible but will be a thoroughfare. And that road is, I think we do 16 feet wide, 16 feet wide. Now, our roads that are accepted by the town, as I understand, and Lino, you may be more certain about this, have to be 20 feet wide to be accepted by the town. 4 feet is significant, very, very significant. And if there is anyone parked on that road doing road work, visiting somebody, whatever it may be, you cannot get a car 2 lanes across. You have to stop, let one car pass going one way and another car pass going the other way. We can see a situation where if you do not know and you're coming down, you're gonna create some sort of blockade that is dangerous, that is just gonna cause a headache, but more importantly, someone can get hurt. And again, the town is not gonna route traffic there, I totally understand that. The concern is, how are you going to prevent vehicles from going and using Paulding, Overlook, Upland with regularity. So it's not so much the signage elsewhere, because we're grateful that, for example, you're gonna talk to the state about putting signage on the sawmill. And I don't know if there's gonna be signage, for example, coming northbound on 117 out of Pleasantville, that if you can go onto South Greeley as opposed to
Yes.
coming, okay,
There
great.
will be.
Great, super. So there needs to be signage even locally if possible, and I called Chief about it, who I see his name still up there, it was Chief Carroll. We chatted about it.
I'm here, Jeremy, I'm here.
I know you are. He said he was gonna come over to my house, I said, you may have to leave now, cause it'll take you a while to get there.
I think we had a couple of spirited conversations today, if that's.
We did, but so I don't know what can be done, but this is, as much as jokingly I am right now, it's a real serious matter, because I can't stress enough, you're gonna have rush hour traffic for people who may be detoured and going a different direction, but there's gonna be others who are gonna come and find Upland, Overlook, Paulding, those streets, and it's not safe, there's not stop signs, people whip around it anyway, regularly. You obviously know the concern that you're discussing, as you mentioned, lowering the speed limit from 30 to 25. You have a street that is unpassable, and I have some pictures which I'll forward to the town
I
when
know
we're
the
done.
street very well, yeah.
Where I was driving to and I stopped my car because there was, mulch on the side doing work, there was a car parked, presumably people visiting. It's not a tenable situation for 2 months. And remember that while school is not in session, you're going to have buses for camp pickup. And different kids go into different camps and things like that. We are going to be seeing this during rush hour because it starts at, I think Chief, you said 8 o'clock, or was that correct?
9 to 6, I think he said. 9
9?
to 6.
Yeah, 9 AM to 6.
9 AM to 6, so 9 may be the tail end, but there is that risk, and certainly at 5 o'clock when people are getting off, if you come down 117, coming from or you look as people heading out to 684, there's always a lot of traffic going north and southbound in the neighborhood. I don't know what you can do, but I'd ask Chief Carroll and the town board to figure out what needs to be done, whether that's passing local legislation, I think Chief mentioned about no trucks, whether it's signage about no trucks and no for local traffic only. I don't have the answers, but it's right here, 20 days away roughly. And I think it's gonna be a major problem in very unsafe conditions, especially on Algonquin, because it's a narrow road. Those 4 feet make a heck of a difference. You cannot pass 2 cars if there's something in the road. It's not possible, period. So there's other people here who wanna speak. I just wanted to put it on your radar and make sure you understand that a lot of our residents in that neighborhood, in those adjoining towns, streets, are very concerned about what's going to happen. And we're concerned there's no recourse, to stop it. So shouldn't say stop it, to minimize the impact. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I now turn it over.
Yeah, it seems to me it's gonna be what we can do legally, right? So we have to talk to you, Lino, to you, Chief, and that's really what it's going to come down to, like the no trucks.
When I even said to Chief this morning,
We need to find out what we can do.
I mentioned to Chief this morning, we have the radars for speed where, it says if you're doing 35, 34, like by the school. Things like that, but I'm hoping there's other answers about signage that can be placed well in advance, but also it's not just the people who are driving through town to get, go southbound or northbound, it's local residents who are gonna get frustrated and be in a Zoom to get out of there and get somewhere, that they don't use our local roads, when I say local roads, those particular neighborhoods, because it's gonna be dangerous. Those streets are not flat streets, they are hilly, curvy, and they're blind, so.
I worry about GPS directing people that way.
It does that.
Yeah.
And maybe I know in the past there's been communications with GPS with about saying you can't use these at certain times, so maybe that's a solution too.
Yeah, for 117, it directs you GPS, go up Upland, cut through Algonquin, go down Paulding.
Really?
On a normal day or just if there's traffic there, how does it?
On a normal day,
Yeah.
depends if it's traffic, depends where they're going off. He can start, but.
Right, we'll just have to see what we can do legally to prevent, and see if we can prevent traffic from going there. I don't know.
It's something we have to look at, cause I'm not aware, signage is one thing, that's definitely to your point, signage regarding speed limit, flashes what speed limit you're doing. But in terms of banning, certain vehicles on certain roads, I mean, again, I'm not aware of that. Again, there are certain weight limitations on certain roads, but I'll talk to the chief and see what I can find in terms
Algonquin's
of.
also a privately owned road.
Yeah, well, hold on. So this is what I'd like to talk about. My name's David Gefsky. I live on Algonquin. And I want to build on what Jeremy and what this unstructured conversation is right now, because this may not be a town project, Rob, but this is a town problem. Because this detour that you put up here, I understand it's not yours, but it's the state, that is not even close to being responsive to the problem that is coming here for the next 2 months. And the problem is what you just heard from Jeremy and many others who are just finding out about this over the last week. Do you have the traffic counts on 117?
I don't know.
Does anybody here?
I have some for sure, yeah.
Okay, great. Could you share those, Chief? Because that'd be very interesting to know what the commercial and the non-commercial vehicle traffic counts are on that street. Because what Jeremy is saying is right, which is anybody who is local here knows you can cut through these neighborhoods to bypass this small little spot on 117. So my suggestion is to expand the closure on 117 much further so that you don't have people who can get through on the shortcuts, or close the side streets, period, unless you're local traffic. So there are plenty of solutions here. But it can't be, this is a state problem or a state project, because it's not. This is ours. And so you're just starting to hear the frustration that is out here. It's a life safety issue more than anything. And I just cannot believe that we're just gonna have our position be, well, it's a state project. That's completely unacceptable. It's too important of a street, and it's too important of a bypass for our town to just say, oh, there's this detour that's, how many miles is that detour, by the way? 10? 13 miles? Oh, there's a 13-mile detour on side streets that is 35 miles an hour that's gonna take people 20 to 30 minutes out of the way. That is not a detour that people are going to do, especially locals. Maybe the commercial drivers are, but there aren't many anyways. It's a disproportionate small number. So I know we're here late, I know it's after 9 o'clock, and I know we're not gonna have a ton of time to talk about this, but you have to take this up in the most serious way as soon as possible. This project should be delayed until there's a real plan. That'd be my first suggestion. Then you have a second comment, which is, well, let's just figure out a reasonable outcome here so we don't put these streets with any life safety issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak?
Yeah,
So-
Chief, but I just wanna say something, I'm sorry, just one second. It is actually important for us to let people know who the project belongs to. That doesn't mean that we don't talk about it, but it's important for you to know that this is a state project. If it were a town project, we'd be in a completely different position. We would be able to take a break, to stop, to speak to residents, and to do this in a timely, in a fashion that is time-wise reasonable for everyone. We don't have control over that. It is a state project, that is a fact. The question remains, what can we do legally? You know, we haven't heard anything different that would change the ultimate question. So it all boils down to that. So go ahead, Chief.
No, I wanna say that we appreciate all your concerns and we've raised them with the state over and over again, and we've expressed these concerns. I actually asked for a phone number for who all you guys could call to report these complaints to. And thanks to Rob, they pushed this project off to the summer to try to minimize the problems, but we know the problems, we agree with you, but this project is happening beyond our control.
Thanks, Chief. Hi, everybody. I'm Lori Townsend. I live on Algonquin also. I want to add to my concern and really ask again, what is the role of the town board in securing resident safety in this kind of situation after you fully assessed the roads that residents will be using? We know that Chappaqua Bus does not send full buses up Paulding. Paulding is my main concern. I've nearly been hit on Paulding as a pedestrian. I've nearly hit someone walking their dog on that road. There's a very wide gully, which it seems the town repairs frequently. It's deep. I would expect the town to have to carry whatever repair costs there would be with that. It's a little unnerving to know there haven't been thorough traffic studies, it sounds like, by the state, not by you, Chief, to address these questions. So my question to you is, what can the board do? I think that it would be negligent to not look into the safety of using these roads and finding out whatever you could do, whatever signage, whatever redirection, whatever controls you can put in place to ensure the safety of the children and the residents and the drivers who will use the roads. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Tucker. I live on Algonquin Drive for over 20 years, and I would say everyone in the town knows the cut through. So I think everyone's kidding themselves if you don't think that's what they're gonna do. Go up 2 minutes around through Upland, across Algonquin, which is 16 feet and not maintained by Chappaqua, maintained by the owners, which can be another hardship on us, and then down an unsafe road. Everyone knows it. It's in the GPS. Whenever a tree falls, there's an electricity outage, there's the flooding by that Old Town Road. Everyone comes up all the time. And they're flying by. And there's kids out, people walking the dog, which makes the road even smaller than 16 feet. It seems like the town should be able to do something, even though it's a state project, whether it is closing a side street or putting a sign no throughfare, or private residents only like they have in Lawrence Farms, right? It seems like there's something you can do to help the locals of the town, even though it's a state project. And it is a problem.
I'm sorry if I may, I apologize, guys, to come back up again. I wanna just step up and show you, just so you can get a context, if you haven't been on the street. These are parked cars, there's no way you could fit a second car going through any of this, you just can't. And this is just on a regular day, so you can see how tight it is. And if you have to back up, how are you gonna back up? You're not, so again,
There should be thousands of cars.
I was there today. I drove down the street today.
So
I know.
you probably saw,
And I used to live there, I used to walk through the trails there. I know. I'm gonna keep reiterating this. Personally, I hope we can close it all off. I hope we can close off your street and put signs, on the main road, streets closed. That's what I wanna do. I don't know if we can do that legally. Again, it just keeps, and I know this is frustrating. Just know that I would really personally like to do everything that you're suggesting. It's going to come down to what we can do legally. I can't change that, so we don't have that information now.
if you could just share, if
We
nothing
will-
else,
yeah,
if you could
absolutely.
share with some of the residents where you plan on putting local signage and as you expand the potential signage, but it's not just what the state's gonna do on the sawmill, which is great that they're gonna consider doing that, but what are we gonna do locally to slow, calm traffic, avoid traffic, and keep it as best we can off of certain roads. I don't wanna sell Upland or Overlook and throw them over, but that's not even as compromising of a road and dangerous of a road as Paulding. Paulding's a very dangerous road, so thank you.
So can we look into that, please, whatever we can do,
You mean,
we
again, short of signage, I don't know if you can actually shut those roads off just legally. I haven't been doing this 30 years, I don't know how you can actually do that on a state project like that, but again, signage is something I can speak to the chief about in terms of, making people aware more than anything, just to be careful, but in terms of closures, that I don't know any legal basis to do that.
So and the fact that it's a private road, does that factor into it?
You have UPS, FedEx, they all go through those streets.
They do.
And right, so under the public transportation law, anybody can go through that.
Lino's right, the state will certainly put out no through traffic only, but that's only for the closure roads.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the side roads, unfortunately,
Well,
and
is there,
private road.
is there
And then-
sign, I'm sorry, go ahead.
As bad as Algonquin is, I worry more about Lawrence Farm South. That's right there. And listen, we understand the problem. I wish I had a solution, and I'm happy to try to come up with one.
Is there, short of closing those roads, is there signage we can put that would, strongly discourage people from taking those routes? I don't know off the top of my head, dangerous,
I think communication with the
narrow
community is important,
roads,
I could speak.
is there signage that we could put?
Yeah, I mean, I could discuss with the chief about signage that would make people aware, but again, it's the banning and telling folks they can't use that road is something you just can't do. So that's being, in terms of signage, that's something probably we could look into, just to make people aware of it and be careful and maybe highlight the conditions that Jeremy and the neighbors are talking about, because right, it is a concern, but in terms of closing it or and saying you can't use it, that you just can't do that.
So do I understand this right, that the posted detour is going to be that very long one, but a more practical detour that doesn't go through the local roads would be to just take the Sawmill Parkway?
Yes,
But
commercial
we-
vehicles
can't do that.
Can't do that, which is why that is the
Right, so they
posted
take the
detour.
long one, but
Yeah.
is there a way that we can communicate for residential traffic or something like that there's an alternate detour so that they don't follow that one and then start cheating?
So you mean we can't keep trucks, like large trucks, from taking that route that the residents are concerned about?
it seems to me
I mean, those trucks won't be able to handle those roads, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain trucks that we, again, where I live, for example, I have a lot of windy streets, a lot of, and trucks, there's signs, there's no through truck traffic, right? But they are,
Are there such signs?
yeah, there are postings along 9W where they have these, but there's streets that just the grade does not allow like a tractor trailer to go through it, you're just not gonna be able to do it.
But does
Can-
it
can we-
say it on
oh, sorry.
holding or does it say on holding no trucks?
No, but that's what there's gotta be some sort of signage because people are not going to go a dozen plus miles out of the way. They're just not gonna happen.
It'll be
It's not gonna
dangerous
happen.
for larger vehicles.
Just human nature.
It's not gonna happen.
Why? 'Cause we're
And
starting.
again, I'm not gonna say the same thing over and over, but Paulding's dangerous, Algonquin's tight.
Mhm.
And if I park my car on Algonquin somewhere and someone else parks their car, next thing you know, that's gonna be like a one-way bridge. Because you're not gonna be able to pass, it's gonna be bottlenecked, it's not gonna work.
Alright, so I think we're establishing that
Thank you.
we're not allowed to we still have some public comment, I don't know if there are still people in the audience. But so far, we've established that we probably are not allowed to close down the roads. And so we will look into what signage we can put to discourage traffic and certainly trucks,
And police presence if necessary.
right?
And
Okay.
communication.
But let's finish the public comment period. Is there anyone in person for public comment? Okay, I see a hand raised online.
That's me, if you can hear me.
Don Feinberg, yes, go ahead.
Vicky, I just wanna know, are you going to speak to the resolution that's on the agenda or is
Yes,
that-
We are, the public hearing is closed, as you know, and so we have a resolution. We have a resolution and we're ready to pass it, so that's coming along at the end of the meeting.
Well, then I would like to stick around.
Okay, you can stick around and we have a public hearing on lowering traffic,
No, I understand, I just didn't
limits, so
wanna,
we do that.
I'm looking at the agendas as printed and I was running out of possibilities to speak, I thought, so.
Oh, okay, but since this is public comment, you are free to speak.
About anything?
Yes, actually.
Well, I want to welcome you all to another long meeting. I've just listened to everybody. There's a lot going on in town, a lot of very constructive things. I'm very excited to hear about all the good things, and of course, I was listening very intently to these concerns about what seems like a necessary traffic change, but which is going to cause local problems. So, and now, if I can really say this, I'm very sensitive to these traffic issues because of our own projects.
Yes.
But thank you.
Thank you. All right then, so we'll keep moving along. I think we're up to actually the public hearing. Hang on a second. All right, yeah, so I should make sure there are no further public comments. Are there any more hands raised? Okay, all right, so that brings us to a public hearing on a local law lowering the townwide speed limit to 25 miles an hour. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Does anyone want to introduce this local law?
Sure, I can do it.
Go ahead, Lena.
Sure, so this is a local law amending chapter 123 vehicles and traffic. In essence, all this law does is make town roads, and only town roads, not county or state, but town roads at an established 25 miles per hour for all town roads. So what this local law does, actually when it was originally put in your books, it was the inverse, so it had all the 30 mile per hour roads and then a list of 25 miles. We changed it, so now we said all town roads are now 25 miles an hour, and there are a couple of roads that are left at 30 miles an hour, and those are remain to be Hardscrabble, Douglas, Shingle House, Lake Road, Glendale, Harriman, Sheether Road, and Campfire, Spring Valley Roads are the only ones that are 30 miles an hour. So that's basically the local law.
Those are the nine exclusions.
Right, correct.
Alright, right, and Creighton Manning did a very thorough study of our local roads and traffic patterns and average speeds, and they collected a wide range of data on many of our local roads spread out throughout the entire town.
And I've discussed this with the chief as well, in terms of just to make sure the local law is consistent with what Creighton Manning did, and it is.
Right, and so we had an engineer do a study and officially certify, which was a requirement of New York state law for lowering the speed limit. And so it was very thorough. I thought they did a very informative work, and they came and they had 2 presentations for the public. So at this time, I'd like to ask anyone who has a comment on this, for this public hearing, to please come up to the microphone. Anyone in the audience? Okay, there's no one in the audience. Anyone online? No hands are raised online. All right. Well, this has been an issue that we've discussed at length throughout many meetings. We talked about it earlier today. Traffic safety initiative, which includes the lowering of speed limits, but which also includes traffic calming measures and a public education campaign. So I don't know that there's that much more to be said. I'm not sure if there's a need to keep a public hearing open. And I'm inclined to close it. I think this is a good move. I think people want increased safety, and this is a part of increasing safety on our roads. So I'm inclined to close the public hearing, keep the record open for written comments till Friday at noon. If everyone agrees to that, I would like to call for a motion. We keep the public comment open till Friday. What is the date? Today's the 9th?
12th.
The 12th at 12 p.m.
Summer Fridays.
Hang on a second. Sabrina, is there anything you'd like to tell us?
No, I was just thinking about something, sorry.
Okay, just wanna make sure we've covered everything before we close the public hearing. Okay, so may I have a motion to close the public hearing and keep the record open until the 12th? Yes, the 12th of June at noon.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, Rob, you went over all the items on the consent agenda,
Yes.
so we can start off with the resolutions. Okay, Eric, do you wanna start us off?
Sure. I move to adopt the items 1 through 10 as listed on the consent agenda.
It's actually 9.
9. I move to adopt the items 1 through 9 as listed on the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which one's that on?
It was the one we
The second
discussed.
bullet.
The change order for Chat Pack.
Am I reading the resolution?
So now we have a resolution in support of Pride Month.
Excellent. Whereas the town of Newcastle, New York upholds the value and dignity of each person and champions the rights, freedom, and equality of all individuals and families. And whereas all are welcome in the town of Newcastle to live, work, play, and deserve to feel a sense of belonging, inclusion, and equality, and a place to call home where they are safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. And whereas the town denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, ethnicity, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, ability, socioeconomic status, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles. And whereas Pride Month commemorates the Stonewall Uprising in New York City, which took place in June of 1969, when lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus, and allied friends took a stand for human rights and dignity, and fought against police harassment and discriminatory laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas LGBTQ plus people have fought for equal treatment, dignity, and respect, and have achieved significant milestones ensuring that the future generations of LGBTQ plus people will enjoy a more equal and just society. And whereas LGBTQ plus people still face disparities in employment, healthcare, education, housing, and many other areas central to the pursuit of happiness in the United States. And whereas the town of Newcastle recognizes the valuable cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQ plus community, which strengthen our social welfare. And whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. And whereas, despite being marginalized, LGBTQ plus people continue to celebrate authenticity, acceptance, and whereas the town of Newcastle reaffirms its commitment to standing in solidarity with LGBTQ plus individuals and families in their ongoing struggle against discrimination and injustice. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Newcastle Town Board declare the month of June 2026 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the town of Newcastle, and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ plus community and to actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for reading that, Eric.
My pleasure.
Ally, do you want to read the following resolution in support of gun violence awareness?
Whereas every day dozens of Americans are killed by gun violence, leaving countless friends, family members, and loved ones heartbroken and traumatized, and entire communities living in fear of experiencing or witnessing gun violence. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other developed countries, and whereas in 2026 alone there have been more mass shootings than days in the year, with more than 177 mass shootings so far that have killed hundreds of people and injured even more, according to the Gun Violence Archive. And whereas gun violence has serious implications for victims, survivors, and their communities, and includes, but is not limited to, gun suicides, gun homicides, domestic violence involving a firearm, officer-involved shootings, and unintentional shootings. And whereas cities and towns across the nation, including the town of Newcastle, New York, are working to end senseless gun violence, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities we serve is the town board's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories, and whereas National Gun Violence Awareness Day is commemorated on the first Friday of June this year on June 5th, which honors the memory of Hadia Pendleton, who at age 15 in 2013 was tragically shot and killed in broad daylight 1 week after performing at President Obama's second inauguration. Hadia's friends asked people to wear orange, a symbol of human life, in remembrance of all victims and survivors of gun violence. And whereas throughout the entire month of June, nationally recognized as Gun Violence Awareness Month, we are asked to renew our commitment to end gun violence, vowing to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, and encouraging responsible gun ownership to help keep our children, families, and communities safe. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Town Board of the Town of Newcastle do hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as Gun Violence Awareness Month in the Town of Newcastle, and urge residents to support their community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence, to foster a secure environment for all.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for reading that resolution. Okay, now we are up to the 50 North Greeley NG0 special permit resolution. And I think Don Feinberg is no longer here, but he knows that he's feeling confident. And so oh, okay, hello.
Bearing witness.
I didn't realize, okay. So we have a long resolution. We don't need to read it all. Holly, do you want to read the pertinent parts
Yes.
of it? We've been through all the details of this special permit application. And so I think you can get to the first, hang on, where is that, whereas clause?
Page 4.
Thank you. The second one is much further down, but okay,
I start with now therefore.
yeah, therefore be it resolved.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved that the application for approval of the NG0 special permit and site plan as described herein be and it is hereby conditionally approved and the town supervisor of the town board is authorized to sign the final site plan and all accompanied plans subject to compliance with the 47 conditions set forth in this resolution.
Okay,
Second.
and hang on a second, there is the be it further resolved at the end, right? On page 9.
Okay. Be it further resolved that the special use permit and site plan shall expire if a building permit is not issued within 12 months of the date of filing of this resolution in the office of the town clerk on or about June 9th, 2027, and construction is not diligently prosecuted thereafter unless an extension of such time is requested and approved by the town board. A request for an extension of time to submit a final plan must include information regarding the date that the town board granted approval over said special use permit and site plan and a statement as to whether any prior application for an extension of time has been made by the applicant and the action taken by the town board on such application, and be it further resolved that if said conditions be not fully complied with within the above time limits, said site development plan approval shall become null and void.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The end of a long process. Thank you for sitting through. Okay, now we have a few
Do you
more
want me to-
resolutions
Do you want me to keep going?
on the agenda. I think Jen, go ahead with the final.
Are we on 4 now?
Yes.
We are on 4.
I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $441,326.88 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail reports. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, May 29, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Cody Bavon for the position of laborer within the highway unit of the Department of Public Works at an annual salary of $53,841.35 and rank Group 2, Step 1 effective June 29, 2026. This appointment is subject to a 52-week probationary period. This position will be funded out of the expenditure line.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of the following individuals for the position of recreation attendants within the Recreation and Parks Department at the corresponding rates as indicated below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Stephen Farrell for the position of motor equipment operator within the Department of Public Works Building Maintenance Unit at the annual salary of $88,076.60 and rank Group 7, Step 5 effective June 22nd, 2026. This appointment is subject to a 52-week probationary period. Funding for this position is within the expenditure line indicated below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the appointment of Helene Burke-Habit as chairperson of Beautification Advisory Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.